KFIZ News Time. It is 8:09. Welcome to Landscape Smart, presented by Rademann Stone and Landscape Company. I am Matt Hinker, and joining me today is Ron Rademann and Master Gardener Dolores. Phone lines are open for any and all of your gardening and landscaping questions, so give us a call at 923-1450 or 1-888-950. If you can't give us a call, shoot us an email at kfizstudio@gmail.com. Ron, Dolores, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Yes, and hey, we have all three mics are functioning today, so that's nice.
Makes it a little bit easier.
It does. It will make things a little bit easier for us, so that'll be nice. So I mentioned earlier in the show that, it looks like today, looks like we have some weather's going to be warmer, but it does look like there's going to be at least a bit of rain in that forecast as well. But today looks like a day to get out and really probably knock some things out because it's going to be just sunny and 60.
Yeah, it's still a little soft out there after
that's true.
After
We did
the
get
rain and
get
snow,
a lot
so
of,
you aren't going to.
I think my basement's still drying.
But it's you aren't going to get around with any equipment here quite yet.
I wouldn't think so.
But it isn't a bad time to get out and get some things started again. Some of the things we almost got to a month ago where nothing has really changed too much.
Mm-hmm.
The temperatures have been in the 30s and 40s. Well, even last night, I think it got down to 26 or 27 when I got up this morning.
Yeah, I think it was about 27 when I got up.
Yeah, and of course now it's all the way up to 35 with the sun out. So
it didn't take long for Dolores mentioned I probably look like I'm nice, warm, and cozy in the studio here because I have a flannel underneath my sweater, and I'm getting a little warm actually. I'm getting a little sweaty.
But yeah, so we're going to have to spring into action here quick now. When we had we had a lot of nice opportunities back in the early part of March, and now with being unable to do a lot of things the last 2 or 3 weeks with the conditions, all of a sudden things are going to change. And so now the 10-day forecast, which is kind of what I don't get too carried away with the 2 or 3 weeks out.
Right.
Because that changes a lot. But, what I look for are trends. And in the 10-day trend now, we got a lot more 60s and high 50s coming up. So it's, we're kind of coming around the corner here finally. It's still about average, for this time of year.
Yeah. So, I wouldn't say anything's been too unusual. Like even when we got that snow, I'm like, yeah, this is pretty normal this time of the year. It's not unusual to get a snow like that, and then it's pretty much gone in a day or so. So yeah, I haven't felt like anything's been out of unusual the last few weeks, even really.
Well, and it's still I was kind of snooping around my yard yesterday afternoon when the sun came out. It got a little bit nicer last night and earlier this morning before I came in. And it's still a little early to do some of the hydrangeas haven't really broken bud yet.
No.
The buds are there, but they're not they're not green yet. And it's easiest to trim like hydrangeas and some of these things because the tips always die back.
Right.
Yeah.
And so if you can see some green, then you can go out there and trim. But right now, you always kind of want to get the jump on things. And I was trimming some my grasses down to 1 or 2 inches right now. I was doing that last night and this morning, and going to do, kind of cleaning up the daylilies and things like that because they're showing some greenery coming up.
Oh, yeah.
They haven't really changed much, but, but it's still a little early to be trimming some things yet because if I go out and if you trim hydrangeas right now, you're just going to be back out there in a couple weeks doing it again.
Right.
So
it's all tempting.
So you got to just kind of work selectively, work around your yard and do what you can do. And then, wait a couple weeks and go at it again.
Is there anything you would recommend maybe trimming right now, Dolores, or is it pretty much?
No, unless you have, like me, I have apple trees that haven't been trimmed yet. And winter trimming is good. So,
Gotcha.
Fruit trees should be trimmed before they break
Mm-hmm.
bud.
Yeah, it's better to, well, some of those, that are going to, like with like hydrangeas where the tips die back, that's where you want to leave them. But if they're going to grow out off of the tips, then it's best to go ahead and get your trimming done. And so, yeah, apple trees or any other,
Trees.
any of the fruit trees or any other deciduous trees would be ideal for trimming right now.
Yeah.
So
It might be a little early for roses.
Yeah, well, and roses are kind of like hydrangeas. I always kind of bunch
them together.
Bunch them together, and when you can trim your roses, kind of when you can trim your hydrangeas,
Right.
and because that way you're seeing some new life and some green down in there, and then you kind of know where you can work off of.
Would you be in essentially the same spot then if you trimmed the roses like the hydrangeas, where you're going to be back out there in a week or two doing it again?
Right. If you trim them now, you're just going to probably be back out there touching them up again.
Because you won't see where the green is starting until a week or two.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, and once we, and we always try to be proactive here on the show and be telling people what you can do this coming week,
right,
rather than what you should have done last week. And but I'd say it's going to be at least another week and maybe even longer before. Now this is, kind of keep in mind, this is Fond du Lac. So, when we talk about these things, we're talking about Fond du Lac. Now, if you're further south, further, or even down, on the other side of Madison or something like that, things move along a little quicker.
Yeah.
If you're up along the lake, Manitowoc or Green Bay, then, you can listen to our advice and wait another week before you do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Because, and that kind of takes us back to, some of these things that we're on the bubble with as far as like dormant oil spraying and things like that, or step one for your lawn. If you're in Fond du Lac here, you could probably still apply dormant oil or apply step one yet this week. Then you've kind of missed your chance for this year. So if you don't have it, if you aren't locked and loaded, if you aren't ready to go, it's going to get, you want to be ready to react now, because if you're waiting to go out and buy the product in a week or two, then it's too late. You have to be kind of doing it right now if you're going to do your dormant oil spraying, and if you're going to do your step one, you got to do it like real quick. So the same kind of goes with preen. Do you use preen?
I have used preen because I have an awful lot of weeds in my flower beds and right around it, and some weeds are out there already.
Like dandelions and those biennial weeds and things like that, or they're there already.
Well, I have chickweed all winter right next to the buildings. It's green. It sometimes I think it's evergreen.
Well, and preen won't really stop.
No, that won't stop that.
Yeah, and it won't stop last year's dandelions either.
No,
but
just
it'll
the babies.
Yeah, just the new ones from the seeds that come out. But you probably got a couple weeks yet to get preen down. But that's kind of the same thing. You're go out and get it ready. Either get it down anytime now, but if you're not ready in a couple weeks, then it's going to get too late again.
But
you
don't
probably
put it
have
on your vegetable garden, because then when you plant your seeds, they won't germinate.
Well, preen is prevents germination. So if you've already got a weed, or if you already got a flower, or if you're
not going to do anything.
I mean, you could spread it on once you have your garden planted and everything's up.
Yes.
Then you could apply preen. But
right, just to prevent those weeds from actually germinating and forming in the garden itself.
The new out at Rademann's now, we have it's extended control preen also, which makes a big difference in Wisconsin, because the regular preen is good for 3 months.
Right.
So if you're putting it down in in, let's just say, the first or second week here of April, that only covers you till about the middle of July,
Right.
where the extended control is good for 6 months.
Excellent.
Wow.
So now you're good all the way till
I'd say
October.
Pretty much,
So-
pretty much covered the season. Then.
So it's the whole, right. So extended control preen is good for it's the whole year really in Wisconsin. So, you shouldn't, the little bit extra, the extended control costs, you should be buying the extended control.
Right.
We don't even carry the regular preen at Rademann's. It just doesn't really
makes
make
sense.
sense in my opinion.
And
But-
when you're busy in the summer, you sure don't want to have to do another step.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, one more thing where you can just go, you did it once at this time,
You're
and then
done.
now it's done. Yep.
Right.
That-
Right.
It means it's one less thing to forget. And then you have, you know what I mean?
Well, you
That's
don't
what I'm thinking
remember-
about for my ADHD. It's like, if the less things I can forget, the better.
Well, and it's kind of, you don't remember it until all of a sudden the
Yep.
weeds are starting to reappear in
Right.
July, and then you go, oh, that's
that's
right. I
right.
was supposed to put my preen down 4th of July weekend, and I went boating instead.
I went boating and had a little too many cocktails, and then I forgot. I'll tell you what, we'll take our first break, so don't go anywhere. You're listening to Landscape Smart, presented by Rademann Stone and Landscape Company.
So yeah, we're working with Rademann's here on the show again this year. Rademann's not open today, but we are open till 4:30 Monday through Friday. We will be opening on Saturdays here. I don't know if next Saturday or the week after, but coming up soon. So
Welcome back to Landscape Smart, presented by Rademann Stone and Landscape Company. I'm Matt Hinker, and joining me today is Ron Rademann and Master Gardener Dolores. If you have any gardening or landscaping questions, please give us a call at 923-1450 or 1-888-900-1450. Can't shoot us a call? Give us an email at kfizstudio@gmail.com. So we talked about, putting off, maybe waiting on step one, trimming, stuff like that. What about seeding your yard right now? Yay or nay on that one, Ron?
oh yeah, great time to
That's what I figured.
to do that here now, because as we said, if it's a little late for crabgrass prevention, that means it's germinating and starting to grow, and that means bluegrass is going to be starting to grow too, and so that's you could pretty much do it any time here now. And again, make sure you use lawn starter fertilizer with your we like Madison Parks and the blends of Madison Parks grass seeds out at Rademann's. They seem to work the best here in Wisconsin.
Yeah, that's what you've said, yeah.
So that's, when you're in Wisconsin, that's the best way to go.
It makes sense. Madison, right? It's the capital.
So yeah, and we have real similar, obviously, climate and conditions here is what they do in Madison. So and as you get further north and further south, that can change a little bit, but for the most part, you're set in geographically. Most or all of Wisconsin, northern Illinois, Iowa, things like that. That Madison Parks blends works well. So.
And this year, you don't even have to water right away. Everything
Yeah.
is so damp.
Yeah, everything. There's plenty of moisture right now. So,
Right.
yeah, and it looks like there's more on the way as well. So, would you recommend then putting down, like, if you are seeding right now, a straw or anything like that to
Yeah, a mulch is still the best.
Okay.
And we have some different products out at Rademann's. Straw mulch is a lot of times the simplest, easiest, best, most economical. And if you put, shake your straw on and water it in, it stays in place, well enough. If you overdo it, it blows into the neighbors. That's not good. But if you apply it, put it down and then lightly water it afterwards.
right to weigh it down a bit? Yep.
Yeah, it gets it wet, and after a couple waterings, it holds together real well, binds together. So, and again, kind of keep in mind that if it's too muddy out, then when we say it's a good time to put your seed down, sometimes it's a good week, but it might not be the perfect day either.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know if you couldn't really be seeding yet today in our area after all that snow melting, but you know, that other than that, you're then, and if we get more snow again or rain here on tomorrow, Monday, you're going to probably be waiting towards the end of the week again before it dries up enough. But,
Right. Well, one good thing about today's weather is you can get outside and survey all your garden needs.
Yeah.
See where you need grass seed and see what needs trimming and kind of make yourself a schedule. I always have a list.
Well, and that's that kind of brings up the other point. Even though we're not open at Rademann's on Saturdays right now, you could still call and make an appointment with Joe to come for. I was talking to him yesterday afternoon, and he said, well, he's got a couple appointments already scheduled for next Saturday. So he says, I'm going to be here whether we're open or
not.
closed.
Yeah.
So, if depending on what you all want, you could call in to Rademann's and get an appointment and to meet up with Joe, and he can go over whatever you need, what your thoughts are, plans are, and he can help you plan that out. So anyway, that, even though we're but don't go out there today. This morning here, yeah.
Let me ask you this, Dolores. What about any fertilizing or for any of your plants or anything like that? When is ideal for that?
It's early.
That's what I would have thought.
It's just way too early.
That's what I figured.
For fertilizer. So, wait a few weeks and we'll have a better answer.
That makes sense.
Yeah, you could, the only thing you really, like we out at Rademann's, we have the NutriPack fertilizer packets. Those you could be putting in, installing right now. But like any of your water solubles, like Dolores said,
that makes sense. Yeah,
there you're mixing it up with water, pouring it on. There's nothing there really to
absorb it yet.
Right.
Yeah. But that changes real quick here too.
It sure does.
So, and if you are doing your lawn work, then for sure fertilize that at the same time.
Yeah. But
some of these, and we have quite a few different formulations out at Rademann's in Fertilome 20-20-20. You mix it up in put a quarter cup in a 5-gallon bucket, swirl it around a little bit, pour that on your, plants. But it's a little, like Dolores said, a little early for that yet. You're not going to really, and those water soluble fertilizers they pretty much only work for maybe 3-4 weeks. So if you're putting them down already now, here in the first week of April, you're going to be putting it down again already in the first week of May. So you're better off might as well just wait a couple more weeks.
Yeah.
Mentioning fertilizer 20-20-20, some people go and compare packages and say, oh, this one is only half the price, but it's 555. You have to know your numbers, and 555 is only 1/4 as strong as the 20-20-20. And
Gotcha.
people just don't realize that sometimes. You really have to look at your packages.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Because what you would have, if you were using 555, you'd be putting in 4 times as much.
You have to use a lot
to
more.
get the same
Results.
as the 20-20-20.
I bet the cost of buying all of those 555s versus the one 20-20-20 is probably going to roughly come about the same.
Or
possibly more. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's going to cost. It would cost maybe 3 times as much because you'd need 4 times as much product.
Gotcha.
And and there too, some of these, it's a competitive world out there. So they, you can't just go out and pick out the lowest price, the cheapest product, because it might be the lowest price, but it's not the
doesn't make it the best product.
It doesn't make
not
it
even
the
close.
best
In fact,
product.
yeah, no, that's
not economical.
No,
Yeah.
I mean that's. I think that's you can apply that philosophy to just more than this. I mean, that's how I view a lot of things. That's how I purchase my cell phones, for example, right? It's an expensive item. I want to make sure it's something I know that's going to be last and durable. I'm not one of those people that needs a new one every 2 years. I'm same with my car. It's got 230,000 miles on it. That's why I buy Toyota, because I know they're going to last. So it's it's that's that same mentality, getting the most bang for your buck,
Right.
ultimately. So yeah, maybe you're spending a little bit more now up head, but you're making it up in the back end. I haven't had a car payment now in 6 years. I like that.
Yeah, that's, and those are just kind of the things that, you try to, so like Dolores said, look at what you're buying. And if the 10-10-10 is more than half the price, then you should buy the 20-20-20
Right.
because you're going to be putting it down. And so again, it depends what you're fertilizing, what you're using. But those kind of keep in mind, like the first number gives you grass, gives you green, gives you growth on tip growth, let's just say. So that's why a lot of your lawn fertilizers, there's a high first number like that.
Oh, okay.
And so there'll be 30 or 32, something like that, on those. And that makes your lawn grow a lot, which means you got to mow a lot too.
Yeah.
So it kind of works backwards from there. And like a lot of the fertilizers that we actually have at Rademann's are more balanced because we're working on developing a good, strong root system and a good, healthy plant.
Right.
More so than just trying to get you out there to mow more often.
And a good, healthy plant will choke out weeds.
Well, that's just it. You end up, if you have, the grass will force the weeds out, actually.
Right.
So, and if you use your step 2, which we could be doing pretty much any time here now, that'll kill off the grass, kill off the weeds without harming the grass. Yeah.
And like you said, strengthen the grass, which will allow it to be much more competitive against
Right.
the
Well,
weeds.
it fills it right in. It fills in those gaps, and sometimes even if you're if you're coming out to Rademann's, take a couple pictures, of your lawn, of the areas that you're doing, because a lot of times you don't really need. We're kind of counterproductive here. You don't really need to buy more grass seed. You just need to fertilize and have the grass that you have fill in.
Gotcha.
So, and that's kind of hard, or if you want to, we take the email questions here too, on the air.
Yeah.
So if you want to send us a picture,
We were talking about that off the air.
I could look at that right from here on the show and tell you, do you need seed or do you need fertilizer?
Yeah.
So, because a lot of times the grasses, as they're just weak and they're small, but once you fertilize them, they fill in and fill the gaps.
I would imagine it comes down to where you have like big bare spots, like that probably needs seed.
Right.
Versus,
That's the key there. That's a great point, Matt. If you have a bare, if it's thin, you need fertilizer. If you have bare spots or larger areas that there is nothing there to fertilize, well, then you need seed.
So then you have something to fertilize. All right. I tell you what, let's take our second break. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to Landscape Smart, presented by Rademann Stone and Landscape Company.
So, yes, stop on out to Rademann's, not this morning, but Monday through Friday till 4:30. Showroom. Joe went in there and redid a lot of the pavers and did some fun things in our showroom here over the winter. So when we come back from break, we'll talk about that.
Welcome back to Landscape Smart, presented by Rademann Stone and Landscape Company. I am Matt Hinker, and joining me today is Ron Rademann and Master Gardener Dolores. If you have any gardening or landscaping questions, give us a call at 923-1450 or 1-888-900-1450. Can't give us a call? Shoot us an email, and like Ron said, you can even add a picture on there that helps us out at kfizstudio@gmail.com. So, Ron, you let us off the break there with there's a new setup at your guys' showroom with pavers and whatnot. Is that what you said?
Well,
Out at Rademann's?
Sure, yeah. Well, with the different products that we all have at Rademann's, one of them is we do a lot of, well, of course, we specialize in natural stone.
Of course.
But we do have the different paver products there, too. And those they've changed so much through the years, and a lot of them there's just a longer life cycle to them. They stay more vibrant. They stay they're so again there too. The newer ones cost more than they used to, because they impregnate the colors better. They hold their colors better, way better. Some of them now I don't know. I used some pavers for edging actually in my house, and they look exactly the same. I don't know when I did that now, maybe 7-8 years ago. They haven't lost any color at all.
Oh, wow.
And where some of the older pavers or the more economical pavers, they are more economical, and they're more economical for a reason, and that's because they don't hold their colors as well.
Right.
So as you're shopping there too, kind of keep that in mind too.
But you have such a variety to choose from.
Yeah, and we phase out those older ones. It just doesn't, the little bit you save compared to what you spend on time, energy, labor, base, all that other stuff, the actual cost of the pavers is so even if it's, a dollar or $2 square foot less, it's still, you don't want to be having to redo it in 10 or 12 years because it doesn't look right, because you still have all the labor that goes into it and everything else. So you want to pick a product that's going to last, and these newer ones now that have the better coloring, the better it's like impregnated right into the concrete.
Yep.
So those the colors just stay real well on them.
But those are also more attractive.
Yeah, they're definitely, they got a little, and they're easier, quite frankly, to clean too, because they're smoother.
Oh, okay.
And they're not quite so rough. They don't like hold moisture, get moldy, things like that. These newer ones are better that way too. Yeah. So anyway, we redo our showroom every it's kind of always an evolving thing, but this year we redid quite a few things. We got some of these others out of there and moved in some of the newer products now. And like I said, we still have all natural stone products too, but which we quarry and produce right here in Fond du Lac, and then sell them all over the United States actually. But so
all right, well, let's turn to the phones. We have a caller. You have a question for Ron and Dolores?
Yes, I have bricks around the outside of a porch.
Okay.
Now, I was told if I put something on there, that will make the color pop. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Well, there are some sealers that you can spray on there, and that'll bring back, it probably won't bring them quite back to brand new, but you'd have to use a cleaner. Right. Because there's probably some, mildew, things like that, that's kind of down into those pores. So what you would need there to do is clean them good, and then you would apply a sealant over it, and that'll bring that. You won't get all the color back, but you'll definitely see the difference.
So how long then will this sealer last? 5 years?
It depends on the brand.
Well, a couple. It's for sure 3 or 4 years. Maybe every. Again, it kind of depends, like Dolores said, on the brand and how porous your pavers are. If they're newer and they're not as porous, that sealer will last longer.
And if you don't get all the mildew and dirt off of them, it's not going to stick as well. So,
yeah, the cleaner is kind of the key.
Exactly.
Key there.
Yeah.
Oh, in other words, just a garden hose is not enough.
No.
It sounds like you might do some scrubbing.
Yeah, well, you kind of.
And maybe even some kind of acid.
Yeah, like muriatic acid or something like that.
And that's pretty dangerous stuff to work with.
Yeah.
And that's going to take some of the color out too. But then when you redo it, then it's hard to. Again, it's a little hard to. Everybody's
It's hard without looking at it, too.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, could I just put it on with a paintbrush rather than a sprayer?
No, it would be easiest to spray it on. You'd use like a garden sprayer, a 1 gallon poly sprayer would be the easiest way to apply a sealer.
Because that way it will force it into all the crevices.
Yeah, that way it gets kind of down into those
Right.
into the pores, let's just say. But
And how warm do you think it should be outside before I start this project?
It usually tells you on the package what
okay.
temperature works for each different
it's a little
sealant.
early. I can tell you
yes.
that right now yet. You know,
Okay.
I'm sure it's over 55 or 60
Yeah,
for most
that's-
of them.
that's what I would say. And just because we get one,
If
1 or
it's
2
good-
days here right now at 60 degrees, that's not going to warm
Right, it
the
needs to be
pavers up.
consistently at those
Right.
temperatures.
And
Because I'd
maybe-
imagine that helps it cure.
Maybe, right, you'd like it to be like 55 at night
Right.
so that it does
okay.
adhere well.
Yep.
Yeah, you're probably. I'm thinking it might be more than a month away yet. As we
Right,
get more into the
exactly.
middle or end of May, would be
Yes.
more.
Well, do you sell these products?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. If you could, take out 1 or 2 and bring them right out to Rademann's, and then they can, kind of look at it, set you up with whatever you need. Then just count out how many pavers you have. That way we know how many square feet to set you up with for product. Because we don't want to send you back with a 5 gallon pail if you only need a quart, or vice versa.
Okay.
So
Yes,
just kind of
yes.
figure out about how many you need, and then you stop on out. Joe or Brock or somebody in the office there, they can help you figure all that stuff out.
Okay. Thank you so much for your help.
Oh, thank you for the call.
Yeah, it was a good
Okay,
question.
bye.
Good, it's one of the questions we don't get too often.
No, yeah, that's a unique one for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But a unique, interesting, good one that is helpful for people. So
Yeah, and the same thing works, on if you have a paver patio that you put in 20 years ago.
It might not look so good.
It might not look so good now,
Yeah.
but you could
Brighten them
you
back
don't
up.
need to totally rip it out and start over.
Right.
If you're doing a new one, put the new ones in. But if you got the old one, then you got to
Yeah.
just kind of play
Polish
the
up.
card.
Yeah.
You got to play the cards out of your hand that you're dealt. So
Yep.
Yeah. I had to put in pavers about 20 years ago. I had this dog who just loved to dig under the windows and lay there. And I have a bi-level house, so I have windows really low, and the siding is really low. So after I put pavers under the window, I realized, well, the mud is splashing on the siding, and it's a good idea. I just put pavers all the way around the house. You don't notice them. I'm in the country, but it really made a difference. Now you don't have those weeds growing
Yeah.
right next to the house in this kind of weather.
Yep.
And my west side is so hot, nothing grew well there.
Yep.
And so except I have 2 beautiful spireas, that bridal wreath and the original pink. And that west side, I just put down river rock.
Oh, okay.
And around those, and those shrubs are over 20 years old. They don't mind the heat of pavers, the difference summer and winter. So there's, like the river rock, there's places around plants that work just fine.
All right. So we're turning right back to the phone lines here. You have a question for Dolores and Ron?
Yes, I purchased angel wings plant last year and put it in a planter and filled it in with some geraniums. And when I bought it, it had the broader leaves to it and was kind of low-lying. Now I brought it in for the winter, and it shoots up now. It's about a foot high, but the leaves seem to be smaller. Are they going to get larger with the weather, or should I transplant it?
Well, it's not getting natural light, and it
Yeah,
doesn't
well,
matter.
it does through the windows because I brought it in
The-
in the back
if
here, but
you-
yeah, not outside.
If you had a grow light on it and the windows, it's still
It's not quite like sunshine.
No, it
Okay.
is still like deep
Yeah,
shade
and on the warmer
outside.
days, I have set it out, here
Yeah.
and there. So
Yeah.
Keep doing that.
That's
Okay.
very good to put it out
Okay.
when it's, but not for a long time full sun,
Right.
because otherwise it'll get burned. But
Yeah.
it really does benefit from 10 to 20 minutes in full
Okay.
sun at a time, and then once you get it out in the weather, it's just going to pop.
Okay.
Yeah, you
'cause
wanna
last
kinda
year I had it out
acclimate-
on the west side, so and then it got that west, the late day sun. So
Well, and maybe morning sun is better if
Exactly. West
Because-
sun can
because
fry
it's
things.
not quite so hot.
Yeah.
But the temperatures, like if we're in the 60s like this, that's kind of, put it out there for a couple, just gradually put it out for a
Right.
little bit longer each day
Right.
or each couple days. You don't have to add 5 minutes every day. Just, over the course of the next couple weeks, just get it out there and get it acclimated. And then it'll start getting back to normal once it gets outdoor weather.
And that's great advice for any plant you put out there. You got to acclimate them to the weather a little at a time. If you buy tomatoes in a greenhouse, those don't need to be acclimated. But if you start them in your house, you do have to put them in deep shade for about a week.
yeah, the geraniums kept all through the winter now. I mean, I'm really pleased so far, but it just had, like I said, it just had a smaller leaf to it now, and I didn't know
Right.
if it was ready for something else. But okay.
And you might
thank
want
so
to
much.
transplant them into fresh soil.
Okay.
And there you could start in with a little, some of the water soluble fertilizers too,
Right.
if they're starting to grow. Again, when we talked earlier, if it's, if there's no leaves and there's no new growth, then, but as you're starting to get new growth, you could, start using some fertilizer on it.
Or when you repot, use a potting mix that has fertilizer beads in it.
Yep.
So,
Okay.
all right.
Thank you.
Thank you for the call. All right. We'll take our final break right now. Do not go anywhere. You are listening to Landscape Smart, presented by Rademann Stone and Landscape Company.
So yeah, Rademann's not open today, this Saturday. Not sure about next Saturday yet. We're going to kind of
Still working on that
we're
one.
going to. Brock gets back from vacation on Monday. We're going to have a little meeting and figure that all out. But Rademann's just 3 miles south of Fond du Lac, and then east on County B about a quarter mile.
All right, welcome back to the final segment here for Landscape Smart, presented by Rademann Stone and Landscape Company. I am Matt Hinker, and joining me is Ron Rademann and Master Gardener Dolores. Phone lines are open for any and all your questions at 923-1450 or 1-888-900-1450. You can also shoot us an email at kfizstudio@gmail.com. And now, Dolores, you mentioned here off the air there's both a plant sale and a plant swap. I don't think we've mentioned that one yet.
Yes. May 11th is a Saturday, and it's the Master Gardener's main fundraiser. We have a plant sale at the fairgrounds in the Cow Palace from 9 to 3. If you come early, you have a better selection of plants. And we start lots of vegetables in the UW greenhouse. And I would say between tomatoes, peppers, and all kinds of other plants, there's probably 1,000 plants.
Oh, wow.
So,
Plenty to choose from.
yes.
And perennials and things like that
yes.
also.
Oh, yes.
Not
Lots
just
of perennials,
vegetables.
but those we start from seed.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And on June 1st, which is a Saturday, the library has another free program. All their programs are free. And this is a plant swap. So if you have garden plants or house plants in excess, bring them over and see what you can trade for it. There's no charge.
Very nice. Tell you what, we'll turn right back to the phone lines. We'll have to be a little quick here, but you have a question for Ron and Dolores? Hello?
Sure. It is a real quick question about hostas.
Yeah, go
I'm
ahead.
wondering, is it safe to uncover the hostas now?
If they're growing, you want to uncover them.
Okay.
Yeah,
And what if we get more snow?
Well, and there too, if you can kind of clean up the dead leaves, the they're pretty much shriveled up and
Right.
get them cleaned up and I think we're going to get some more of these, maybe 28 or 30 degree days, but we hopefully we're not going to get the 10 or the 15 degree days.
Probably not.
So
I wouldn't
no,
think.
And if the snow falls on them, it won't hurt them.
No, what?
If they're
Snow.
coming out.
Will snowfall hurt them?
It can. And some varieties are more susceptible to the cold than others. And I'm
Okay.
not sure which those would be. But if you know it's going to be real cold, go out there and just take your mulch and
Yeah.
push it over the top.
Okay.
But for the most
All right.
part, like right now, they're
Yeah.
barely up. They're
Right.
maybe
Yeah,
up.
I know. They're barely up, maybe not even an inch. They're just barely popping.
Yeah.
But
I was wondering.
sometimes, yeah, and it kind of depends where you're at. If you're in
Sure.
town and you're out on the south side, it's probably warming up, and they could be up a little higher. But it works the same way there too. Then they're a little more protected if we do get cold
Right.
weather.
Yeah.
Sure.
Where
that's
if they're
true.
out in your yard, these are out in your yard or up by your house.
They're in my backyard on my berm, so there are a bunch of pine trees kind of protecting them.
Yeah, so I would say you pretty much clean out the dead leaves out of those any time here now,
And especially the dead leaves will hold a lot of moisture and they just get kind of mushy, and you don't want that around your plant.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
Well, sounds good. Thank you so much for your information.
Yep. Thank you for the call. Have a wonderful
You're
weekend.
welcome. Bye.
So yeah, it's kind of as these perennials are starting to emerge, or even my daffodils at home, they've looked the same for a month already. The buds are there. I can tell they're yellow, but they aren't open, and they've just kind of looked the same.
And I noticed mine don't look like they got frosted with this snow.
And some of these, if they start growing too early, then if we get frost, they'll just kind of have the leaves won't look quite right once they do emerge. So
Yeah, if we got quite a bit of cold, they might not open. The buds might get frosted, and you might not get flowers this year, but the bulbs will still be fine.
yeah, and the same thing, with a lot of your perennials that are just starting to grow, or they're only up an inch or two right now. This kind of weather won't really bother them. They're used to that. It happens every year in
Right.
in April for them.
Right.
So
And certain perennials are more cold tolerant than others. I have sedum that have stayed looking good all winter.
Yeah.
I've got daisies that have looked good all winter. It's amazing.
okay, well, it sounds like they're playing our song here,
Yes.
Matt, Dolores. So yeah, kind of keep in mind again, this is information we give is timely. This is based on the first week of April, and so going forward, always keep that in mind. Again, thanks to Dolores, our master gardener, Rademann's, and again, Rademann's not open today, Monday through Friday till 4:30.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, always. Thank you so much for coming, Ron, Dolores. Always wonderful. You guys come in. Wonderful information. Yeah, you helped me out. I know I wrote down several notes here today for plans. I've got plans for this weekend and the next weekend as well. Do not go anywhere, as the Jerry and Tom Polka Show will be coming up right here on 1450 KFIZ.